Call me the prime host, Justin on the mic, dropping facts coast to coast. In the game of combat, yo, I'm the one they praise. From the cage to the ring on them glory days. I talk the MMA, the jabs, hooks, and straights. Boxing legends, the raw novices. We debate the combat world spins.
Welcome to episode 1 of Combat News Today here on the Glory Days Network. I'm your host, Justin, and today we're talking about UFC 302, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier for the lightweight title. It's going down tonight, June 1st. Main card starts at 10 p.m. at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Let's get into it. All right, first things first, let's get into the main event, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier for the lightweight title, the 155-pound coveted UFC championship belt. Big storyline here, Islam Makhachev, arguably the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC because of his dominance. Leading up to this fight in the interviews has been supremely confident to the point where some people are wondering if he's overlooking Dustin Poirier as an opponent. He was discussing that he doesn't see anybody in the lightweight division as a challenge for him, and that his big goals and his big challenges are at the next weight class at 170, where maybe there will be someone who's big enough to compete with him. That's his mindset going into this fight. He knows what's in front of him, and he still thinks that there is no chance that Dustin Poirier is going to put up a fight against him. Islam's mentor, teammate, training partner, Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest of all time, beat Dustin Poirier in the third round with a rear naked choke. 2 minutes left in the third round, and Islam has stated publicly that if he does not beat that time, that he will be disappointed, that it is a competition to beat him faster and easier than Khabib beat him, which the mindset there is, that's like a Kobe Bryant type of just absolute supreme confidence in your abilities. Now, on the opposite side of this coin, we've got Dustin Poirier. And I know I said this in the last video I made and put out on Facebook before, I think it was UFC 300, where he fought Benoit Saint-Denis. At that time, Dustin has kind of had this 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing with the UFC for a while, where he's just kind of, maybe not enjoying it or not feeling it as much as he used to early on in his career. This is a guy who's fought the best of the best, beat most of them, lost to a couple of them. He's been the interim champion in the lightweight division. But he has fought for 3 title belts and has been defeated in all 3 of those matches. Once was the BMF title, twice was the lightweight undisputed title against Charles Oliveira and Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam's training partner, mentor, and teammate. So he's been to the dance 3 times. He's fallen short each time. But when it comes to the UFC, it comes with the lightweight division, and it comes to some of the funnest fighters that we watch, Dustin Poirier is at the top of that list. He's fun to watch. He's great in the interviews. He's humble, but he's also aggressive, and he's a dog. He's got grit. He's got heart. In those exchanges, no one's going to out-tough Dustin Poirier. They might beat him on the cards. They might sub him, but nobody's going to stand against the cage with him, trade back and forth, and beat him. That is his bread and butter, getting people into those dog fights so they make one simple mistake. He gets an opportunity and he knocks him out. Now, his significance coming into this fight, I believe, just based on interviews I watched and everything leading up to this, that he feels like this is his last chance to the big dance. He's publicly stated he doesn't know if he has it in him to build back up to a title fight. He was supposed to lose against Benoit Saint-Denis. Everybody wrote him off, okay? He won that fight. The other 2 lightweights that fought that night, the winner of that fight did not take the championship fight for whatever reason. So Dustin, once again, slides into this championship fight. He stated publicly that he feels this may be his last chance to obtain the UFC undisputed lightweight title. He's bringing his daughter to the fight, which is a first time. He's never done that before. The Prudential Center sits on Lafayette Street in Newark, New Jersey, which Dustin Poirier is from Lafayette, Louisiana. So he feels like this may be destiny giving him a shot at becoming the UFC undisputed lightweight title holder. And I personally would love to see it. I like Islam. I respect the pedigree and everything that he does. He's incredible. But God, wouldn't it be nice to see Dustin Poirier wrap that gold belt around his waist? And, there will be nothing else to achieve in the UFC after he's done that. He will have reached all the milestones, sold all the pay-per-views, been in all the big fights, been in the ups and downs and the highs and lows. And to see him get that strap tied around his waist tonight would be an incredible fairy tale ending to his UFC career, which I would love to see because the guy deserves it, let's be honest. All right, moving on to the co-main event, we've got Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa at a middleweight contender, kind of title eliminator type fight. We've got Sean Strickland, who's the #1 middleweight contender, just recently lost his championship belt to Dricus du Plessis in his last fight. Some say that was a controversial decision. It was a close fight, definitely. I still think Dricus maybe had the upper hand in that fight. Sean Strickland didn't look quite as good as he did against Israel Adesanya as he did against Dricus du Plessis. He lost his belt, and he's now fighting Paulo Costa. These two guys are crazy, you know, in my opinion. When they're electric in the interviews, they're electric on their social media. Sean Strickland, the culture warrior. Paulo Costa, king of the cringe, even more so than Henry Cejudo, in my opinion. But, you know, it's been interesting in the lead up to this fight. Both guys have been pretty quiet, other than this week, you know, in the lead up to the fight with the press conferences that have taken place this week. Neither guy has taken the opportunity to go at the other one, to start drama, to start talking shit like they usually do. Neither guy has done that. They've been very humble and respectful about each other. You know, Sean Strickland always goes after the media whenever he's in an interview, so that's a given. And he's incredible on the microphone. He's upset. The narrative in this fight is Sean Strickland is coming to this fight upset. He's angry. He's always a little bit, you know, back and forth and antagonistic with the media, but this time he is actually upset. He feels like he should have gotten a rematch with Dricus du Plessis because it was such a close fight. He should have gotten an immediate rematch, and he didn't. And I think everybody knows the UFC, I don't think he's as profitable as someone like Dricus du Plessis. Du Plessis is a great-looking guy, respectful, humble, you know, well put together, speaks well, can be looked at as a role model. That's what the UFC wants in a champion. Sean Strickland is a wild card. He gets into interviews, he gets in street fights, he gets in all these altercations with fans and criminals in the streets and things like this. It's a wild card. UFC has to keep an eye on their PR. So they're a little bit uncomfortable with him having the belt. So as soon as they get the opportunity to get him out of there, they're going to run with it. But he's upset about that. He's coming into this fight angry. And I think an angry Sean Strickland is going to make for an electric fight. He likes to stand in the pocket. He likes to have his Philly shell, just stay in the pocket and trade with people. But he does it accurately, and he doesn't get hit a lot. If you watch the Israel Adesanya fight, that was a masterclass on how to stand in front of an elite striker, keep pressuring him, and avoid the big strikes and win that fight. He really put on a great performance against Israel Adesanya. And not a bad performance against Dricus du Plessis. He just didn't do enough to win over the judges on the cards. So I'm interested to see how that's going to translate into the octagon tonight. On the flip side of that coin, we've got Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa is a bit of an enigma, somebody that I cringe whenever I see in the interviews and everything. He's just over the top with his persona and his personality and the antics and the shenanigans. You know, he's had a spotty career. He really has. He had a great war with Yoel Romero coming up. That really solidified him in the UFC as an elite fighter. And then he kind of went through these skids where he had medical issues, couldn't show up to the fight on the night of the fight. You know, weird injuries and things like that, reasons he couldn't make the walk. And then the whole thing with Adesanya, he talked all that shit on Adesanya, and Adesanya put on a master class and just absolutely embarrassed him. So, but he has dynamite in his hands. He is an elite striker and an unorthodox striker as well. He's won his last fight against Robert Whittaker, who's a darling in the UFC, former middleweight champion. And in that fight, he was throwing wheel kicks. He was doing a lot of fun athletic stuff. So we've got two guys that are wild cards outside of the octagon. I love the interviews with these guys, but they're both good at what they do. Paulo Costa is durable. He can stand and bang. He's got dynamite in his hands. Sean Strickland is a dog. He's going to get in there. He's going to make it messy. He's going to make it tough. He's going to put pressure. I'm interested to see who's going to take the first back step in this fight. I really am. I think it's shaping up to be a really good one. All right, the rest of the card really is not anything crazy. I hope it's going to be a great card, but as far as the matchups and things, a couple guys on here that I'm not that familiar with. I hope it turns out to be a great card. It's cards like this where you look through the card and you're a little bit disappointed on paper when you look at it. These tend to end up being pretty exciting cards. We do have some other big names on here. Obviously, the right before the co-main event, we've got a number 15 Kevin Holland. We've got a number 15 Kevin Holland going up against a unranked Michael. I don't even want to try to pronounce his last name because I'm going to butcher it. Kevin Holland coming off of a really disappointing loss against Michael Venom Page in his debut fight in the UFC. I'm a big fan of MVP, so I enjoyed watching that fight, but he really frustrated Holland. I have a feeling, knowing the type of personality that Holland has, he's going to want to make a splash when he comes back in this fight against an unranked Michał Oleksiejczuk, I'm going to say. This guy's 19-7, also coming off of a loss. He's a Polish guy. Kevin Holland has the height advantage. He's got the reach advantage as well by about 6 inches, 5 inches. So that's going to be a great fight. Kevin Holland is always, he always puts on an entertaining fight in the octagon, except for against MVP. Before them, we've got Niko Price. Niko Price is just one of those unorthodox, crazy, wild fighters like Michael Pereira, and he's just in that kind of category. He's cut from that kind of cloth. I enjoy watching him fight. He's fighting Alex Morono. Neither of these guys are ranked. This is a welterweight bout. All right, guys, that's it for episode 1 of Combat News today. Thank you for joining me here on the Glory Days Network. I'm your host, Justin. Tune in tonight for UFC 302, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier for the lightweight title. Main card starts at 10 p.m. at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. And I'm going to leave you with my tagline: whatever happens, bat, bat, bat. Keep swinging.
Prime host, Justin on the mic, dropping facts coast to coast. In the game of combat, yo, I'm the one they praise. From the cage to the ring on them glory days. I talk to MMA, the jabs, hooks, and straights. Boxing legends, the raw novices. We debate the combat world.